Welcome to this edition of Agile and DevOps Tidbits. Today's topic is management by objectives. Is it silently sabotaging your Agile DevOps efforts? What we see is that the vast majority of Agile and DevOps practitioners and advocates have repeatedly mentioned that DevOps and Agile use the work of Dr. Deming. What they actually fail to do is look at his complete base of work. And what we mean by that is that they cherry pick pieces of his work and don't look at his full set of work and how it applies to Agile and DevOps. One of the key pieces in his 14 points was he was a very fierce opponent of management by objectives. The problem we see today, though, is that management by objectives is still very ingrained in the culture of many companies. So a little bit of history of management by objectives. Management by objectives was first popularized by Peter Drucker, who was probably the most revered American management guru of our time. He created and put it into his 1954 book, The Practice of Management. So what is management by objectives? Management by objectives is the process of defining specific objectives within an organization that management can convey to organizational members. Then they decide how to achieve each objective in sequence. This process is supposed to allow managers to take that work. It needs to be done one step at a time in order to be in a calm yet productive work environment. Management by objectives asserts that it is essential for managers to have quantitative objectives to work towards. They should set these objectives themselves consistent with the objectives of the business as a whole. But here lies the problem. Management by objectives is short on how they actually can do this. How should you identify proper metrics? How do you set targets for each metric? How do you go about reaching these targets? It is not this was by Drucker was not an accidental omission. Drucker believed that in the real world that managers should have and are supposed to be able to find answers themselves. It's part of their job. They're supposed to have the required talent to do this. So what is the problem with management by objectives then? And what was Deming's problem? Dr. Deming instead saw that managers were setting arbitrary objectives. These objectives were unrelated to the purpose of the business. They were set without any plan on how to achieve them or even a means of taking accurate measurements. Deming basically sees management by objectives as an attempt to manage without knowledge of what to do. Also, you'll hear also described as management by guessing. They would say the managers focus on outcomes without looking into the processes. And in DevOps and Agile and DevOps, we specify that we look into process and we use things like theory of constraints, 5 focusing steps to do that. What Deming really saw was that managers end up gaming metrics rather than improving processes and end up playing management firefighting. And here's the interesting part was about 15 years after Deming came out against management by objectives, Peter Drucker also realized that it just simply didn't work. So how does management by objectives sabotage Agile and DevOps? Well, think about this. In Agile and DevOps, we're thinking about the Agile processes, and we're also in DevOps thinking about our delivery pipeline, basically our processes. If we have managers setting objectives that have nothing to do with these processes, then we are not going to see improvement in them. What we should be seeing is managers setting objectives that are based on real metric, and you see this in Agile and DevOps, that we're trying to reduce cycle time, time to reduce mean times to resolution, on and on. This is what we should be basing our objectives on. Another key problem that you see often in Agile is functional managers are overriding Agile by setting objectives that have nothing to do with what their team members should be trying to accomplish inside the Agile team. So if there's any questions or whatever, you can always reach us at Agile Testing Framework or toric.com. Thank you for attending this session.